Darren, should we start with Bostwick's red card? Did you appeal it in the end?
Yes, we have. We've put an appeal to the relevant people, and we get an answer probably later on this afternoon.
Yeah, it seemed a bit of a no-brainer really, particularly with yourselves lacking a few defensive options at the moment, with Baldwin out and Burgess injured.
Well, no, I wasn't really. I wouldn't only appeal, and I've not really. I think I've maybe done it once before. If I feel there's a really good chance of it coming off, because you do run the risk of maybe another game being suspended for. But what the appeal is really regarding is the fact that he was clearly fouled, and that's affected his balance, and you know, you can't really see whether he's tugged the boy or not. We feel that the two fouls on him the referee hasn't seen, so we're hopeful that you know, they see sense and it's clear as day really on the video that he's been fouled. If
unsuccessful, would Burgess have a chance of featuring on Saturday, or is it too early for him?
He's 50-50, no more, no less. I've just spoke to the physio again, he's done a bit of work today. It'll all really depend on what sort of reaction we get tomorrow. 50-50 is how I would gauge his chance.
As you mentioned on Tuesday night, you have got the option of playing Michael Smith as a third centre-back if need be. He's versatile, isn't he?
He is. I wouldn't really want him, if we went with that system again, taking him out of the position. He's playing ever so well. Both my wing-backs are on real good form. I've got other options. I've got Liam Marshall could play there. It would be him making his debut, but I would have no problem with that at all. Or I could change the system, you know, and we'll wait and see.
Yeah, so Liam Marshall's one that's shown enough in training to put his hand up and feature if need be.
There's one or two in the youth that, you know, really, when I'm in a situation where I'm in with defender suspended, that's the way I want the club to go. I should be dependent on bringing a young player into the team. Whether I do or not, whether they're at that level or not, I'll have 24 more hours to think about that. But there's him. He naturally would come into my thinking because he's left-footed and he gives you balance. There's others, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah, it's a week, and I guess when your versatility formation-wise could be important, couldn't it? Because as you've said before, you can start with one and change to something different depending on the personnel you've got.
Yeah, generally no matter what we start with, we've got 2 or 3 formations within that. That's how I would like to work, and the players know that, and I think it suits us, and it's good for them to have that flexibility. So tomorrow's a big day in terms of, well, today as well. Do we know about Bostwick? Then we'll know tomorrow about Burgess, and hopefully both of them are available.
Coventry are a team in free fall at the moment, really, aren't they? 1 point from the last 7 matches, 6 defeats in 7. They're really struggling for form.
Yeah, it's amazing what confidence does for you, you know, and lack of it, and also when you win games, what it does for you in terms of a positive way. You know, only 5-6 weeks ago they've gone back into the Rico Stadium. They've won the first couple of home games there. Everyone's bubbling, and then, you know, for whatever reason they've lost games. I've just watched the last 2 games this morning against Bristol and against Oldham. There's no question they've got ability in their squad. They've got a good squad. There's no doubt in my mind about that. So you know, they're dangerous. It's a dangerous opposition, and again, first and foremost, we've got to look at our own performance, and I think we're playing well. I do. The last few games we've played well, and the system suits us, and you know, if it's not broke, there's no point in fixing anything. And I don't think there is really. I think maybe I'll have to tinkle a little bit with obviously personnel for the reasons we've mentioned, but I've been generally really pleased with the performance of the players.
A surprise then, you'd say, that Coventry are just above the drop zone on goal difference?
Yeah, big surprise. I felt they'd be ones that were challenging. Still could, you know, they could go on a run that 5 or 6 wins. You never know. It's a strange thing, but I'm surprised in the sense that, you know, the fact they've gone back to the stadium. I thought it would bring the momentum, and after winning their first 2 home games there. But listen, it's a huge percentage of things in football is about what's upstairs and mentally, and I think there's no doubt at the moment they're lacking in confidence. But in saying that, they're a big danger to us, because they've got, you know, you look at their squad, they've got a very good squad.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? Because as you say, the Rico thing gave them a massive lift, 6 points from 6 in their first 2 back there, but now they haven't won in 3 home games in the league. Suddenly it probably becomes quite a difficult place to play for them with confidence lacking.
Perhaps, you know, and that might be the case. Sometimes it works against you if you're not getting the results, but it doesn't matter what way you're playing, that's generally what happens anyway. But no, we've got to make sure we maintain our standards. I thought my boys gave a real good effort on Tuesday. We were unlucky not to get something out of the game, even with 10 men for an hour. It also means John Taylor only played 30 minutes, so he may be a little bit fresher if I pick him on Saturday. Bozzy, if he comes through again, would be fresh. So I suppose I've always got to try and take some positives out of Tuesday night.
Is it sometimes more difficult to prepare when you're playing a team that have lost a few, and that I know their manager's tinkered a bit with formations? He made 4 changes on Tuesday night, so maybe more difficult to know what to expect in terms of their lineup and how they'll set up.
Perhaps, but we'll prepare as we always do. And that was a big thing I mentioned in the team talk before the Crew game. It to me and to everyone now, especially you look at the games we've lost, to Crew, to Yeovil, to Gillingham. It doesn't matter where teams are, what team's form is. It's Yeovil hadn't won a home game for ages, and we went there. There's loads of things I can reflect on that I don't want to keep reflecting on, but they're staring you right in the face. The most important thing I'll keep saying to my players: make sure we keep our standards, make sure we keep the quality of our football. The performances I feel have been good, and if we keep that to that level, I know that we'll give teams a game.
Mendes-Land came on and had a positive impact, didn't he, on Tuesday night? Nice to have him available again, and another attacking option, of course. I've
got really good attacking options. I've got Connor and John started on Tuesday. Mendes came on and had an impact. I've got Luke James, I'm giving a little bit more time to adapt to the, because he's only a young boy. I think mentally as well as physically, it's a big move from where I feel with everything that went on with it. I think, just want to give him a little bit, but he's still in my thoughts. He could be involved Saturday, he could play. Kenny McAvoy, so I've got really good options at the moment. I've got a lot of pace, which I've got to try and use to the best of our advantage.
Yeah, just looking at James, he'll be used to a physical battle, I guess, in League 2, but when you combine perhaps a more physical approach with a bit more quality in League 1, I guess it's more difficult to adapt.
Yeah, it's just fitting him in the right role, and when we played Gillingham away, he played more of a 9 than a 10. I thought he did really well for us. Of course, Connor has scored 4 in the last 4 games. Listen, he's very much in my thoughts. I just felt the other night Mendes playing the way he would, and we played 1 up and just 2 off Connor in the last bit of the game worked quite well, because they're 2 players, Mendes and Madison, that like to get the ball to feet and run at teams. You've seen that, and they played just in the space that we could get. So, but he's very much in my thoughts. He's a good player, the boy. He's going to be a really good signing. It's just I've got to make sure that I know when I'm ready to put him back in.
I must ask you again about Joe Newell, because he's stringing together some really good performances now at left wing back. Are we starting to see the consistency from him that you've looked for and searched for over the past couple of years, really?
Yeah, I hope so. He's shown it. He's shown it in glimpses. He's shown it a couple of years ago in the Championship when he played in the left of that diamond. What a good player he is. He's got to be consistent. That's the key. In the last 2 games, he's been excellent. He's been one of our better players. He looks strong physically. He's grown into a man now in that sense of, the physicality of things, and he knows that himself, and that brings confidence. He's always been quick. He's always been a good footballer. He maybe needs to add certain assists and goals to his game, but I think that'll come. So it's all about if he keeps performing like he has in the 2 games, then we've got a real player on our hands.
Yeah, he seems to be much more willing to run at his fullback this season. Is that just a confidence thing as well, taking people on and showing what he can do?
I think it is. Like I just mentioned about Coventry, I think it works in the other way as well. When you've got that confidence, you can take the ball and you can look after it. And we want to work the way the formation is. We want to work him 1v1 as much as possible. We think that's a strong point of his game, and I think he's in a good place at the moment, the boy.
Because you've always said about Joe, haven't you, that he's got all the ability, but sometimes just lacked a bit of belief in his own ability, belief in what he could do. But now that's starting to ease as a problem now, you think?
Yeah, he's one player that I think he's been here probably the longer than anyone. And he's the one player I wouldn't give up on. I would really have been disappointed with myself, and I'm not saying he has made it. If he'd have gone the other way and we maybe loaned him out or it didn't work for him, I was adamant that I can see a player in him. I know he's going to be a player. In terms of his ability, he's got as much ability as any player I've had. Anyone, Boyd, Tomlin, anyone. He definitely has. He needs to add goals, and hopefully as he gets more mature and maybe I feel he'll play in a more central position eventually, he'll add that to his game. But ability-wise, he's always had it. What he hasn't had is maybe the mentality of those other players I've mentioned, to go and perform consistently week in, week out.
Cosy and Bissell, obviously long-term absentees. We know about Burgess. How's McCann, that groin or back injury?
Grant's doing running. He'll train next week. It's always a short-term thing for him. He feels a lot better. I had a good chat with him yesterday. He'll be available for the Scunthorpe game, which is good, because think we need him back in the squad, Grant. You know, he can add certain things to us, and Scunthorpe's one of his old teams, so he's one I have got in mind for that game.
Yeah. Everyone else okay? Nothing fresh?
No, just for selling Cozzy, and I think looking at it, I think they'll probably Vassell could be ready for Scunthorpe as well.
Good stuff.